I have to live up to what my buddies did to save me.
We all have challenges.
I'm proud that I was a soldier.
I wouldn't want to do anything else in the Army or in the world.
It changes the way you see everything. You're a lot more aware of your mortality.
Get out. Why would I get out?
To go home and do nothing would be a real dishonor.
2 years ago, Recon visited military hospitals and talked with service members severely wounded in operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. They all had heart-rending stories to tell, yet most had a remarkably positive attitude about their injuries and their futures. In the next half hour, we visit with some of those men and women again to see how they're doing today. They're scattered far and wide, finding their way.
This is the caseload that came in today. So these are all the OEF cases that came in since this morning.
Jay Fongren now works as a Veterans Service Representative in the regional office of the Veterans Administration in Waco, Texas. It handles initial processing of claims for 164 counties, more than 108,000 claims in fiscal year 2006.
When you're going from one system to another and you're dealing with a lot of transition of paperwork and information, there's stuff does kind of get lost in the shuffle. I'd gone through the process, I knew the steps to the process, and then I could, by me working here, I could assist veterans coming back and getting their claims established and getting the benefits that they deserve. And the team that I'm on, we process the OIF and the OEF cases.
In 2005, Staff Sergeant Jay Fongren was recovering from the loss of both legs and a part of one hand, taken from him by an improvised explosive device.
There's days when I miss having my legs, but when I look back at what all we accomplished and the freedoms that we've given the Iraqi people, it was worth it. I don't regret anything. You can't look at it like I got to live like this for the rest of my life. You look at it, all right, what can I do today that I couldn't do yesterday?
Jay is assigned to a newly created team at the Waco VA office that handles only OEF-OIF cases. Steve Bravo is the team supervisor.
He would always like to finish the day clearing out his entire table and helping one of his co-workers so he can know that we're continuing to provide service to another veteran that probably wouldn't have received it that day. So it's just his sheer determination to be successful at no matter what he does. And I think he applies it here at work and in his own personal life.
At the end of the workday, Jay heads home in a specially modified pickup, one that's made him feel free again.
It took me a while to get proficient with the hand controls. It was just a level of freedom that I hadn't known since I got hurt, to be able to go to the store where I wanted to go to the store, or go places without having to either ask somebody to come pick me up or get my wife, and then we have to take the kids. My oldest is starting to realize that I'm not the same as everybody else's daddy. I'll put my prosthetics on and he goes, "Daddy walk, Daddy walk," or bring me. That's what he calls my prosthetics. So he calls them Daddy walks.
Micah was born while Jay was in Iraq. Younger brother Will has come along since his discharge.
He does understand if I ask him, say, where's Daddy's foot? Will we go and we'll say, "Where's Mommy's foot?" And he'll point at it. "Where's Daddy's foot?"
The Fongren home is also specially adapted for easy wheelchair access.
We have doors on our doors now. At our old home, we had to take the door off from our bathroom to our bedroom so Jay could get in and out.
There are still frustrations. Jay can't really help with loading the car for family trips. Despite the difficulties, Anne's happy with her life.
The best part is Jay's home. We're all together, that we have this wonderful house that we can afford, and that that Jay has a great job and we've made great friends.
And Jay doesn't regret his service or his deployment.
I would go back and do it all over again. I would much rather be fighting a war somewhere else than to have roadside bombs and IEDs going off in the United States. Freedom's a precious thing, and you really understand that when you have to pay a price for it.
When I counted up my demons,
I think from the last interview, I'm in more pain than I was then.
'Saw there was one for every day.
because I'll get pains underneath my kneecaps to the point where I can't even walk. I'll get pains in my hip to where it doesn't feel like I can walk, and then I'll get pains to where all I can do in my lower back, all I can do is just lay down and sleep it off.
Actually, some days he's like an 80-year-old man moping around the house. He has a lot of pain that, you know, a 23-year-old shouldn't have.
Tim No also suffers from a traumatic brain injury, and since his discharge, he's been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We first met Tim at a weekly steak dinner thrown at a high-end Washington, D.C. restaurant for patients at Walter Reed. He says he always wanted to be a soldier.
Other people join because college and they want to get money for college. I want to be a soldier. That's been my dream since I was 7 years old. And now that I am, I want to stay a soldier.
Specialist No was hit by 4 grenades. One blew a hole in his skull. He's had multiple operations in Washington and back home in Minnesota. And he's had to relearn basic daily living skills, like dressing and feeding himself. The brain injury has left Tim susceptible to seizures. He says he suffered 2 complete blackouts, and his girlfriend Ani first began to notice the signs of PTSD.
I mean, we went to a restaurant and I dropped my fork and he almost, you know, hit the table. He was ready to duck and cover just from the fork. So he's gotten edgy and always looking around. His eyes are always everywhere on everyone else.
It's just like you say something and I don't think it's right, I'm yelling and I'm outraged.
Tim lost a job at a large chain store because he couldn't deal with customers.
I didn't feel safe by going, and I just didn't show up for 3 days. And I called the 4th day and they're like, oh, well, you don't work for us anymore.
Tim gets regular examinations at the busy Minneapolis VA hospital. The facility treats more than 45,000 veterans annually. This day, Tim is scheduled for a test to measure his brainwave activity.
He has a nice rhythm in the back of his head, which is normal, but he has these little slow waves that is where his injury was.
He's also begun receiving psychiatric counseling for his anxieties. Dr. Maureen Kennedy says dealing with severe physical injuries can mask the onset or recognition of PTSD.
Especially with traumatic brain injury, I think sometimes post-traumatic amnesia, retrograde amnesia from prior to the injury can all occur for individuals. Over time, they begin to remember and begin to put that into context a little bit more. So yes, it can take quite a bit of time for that to come out.
Tim says he was classified as 10% disabled by the Army Medical Board and 100% by the VA. He's fighting to have his Army disability rating increased. Despite his present difficulties and dissatisfactions, he remains proud of his service.
Since I was 7, I've wanted to be a soldier. And now that I'm proud that I was a soldier. And I'm proud of what I did. On the balcony, you could see the 1st Cav flag waving in the wind. And in the living room, you see the flag on the wall above the entertainment center. I'm very proud of what I did in the unit that I came from before I got injured.
Bottom line, what we do here, there has been a dramatic decrease in the rate of die of wounds.